Like and subscribe right now, or you're going to have terrible luck for the next week. If you're lucky, you'll never be in a position that forces you to tap into your survival instincts. But the truth of the matter is, you never know when an accident will put you in a life or death situation where time and critical decision-making are of the essence. Maybe it's hitting the slopes to take advantage of freshly fallen powder on a remote mountainside, exploring an underwater cave, or sailing the sea that'll have you face unthinkable obstacles. From fell out of an exploding plane, the crush of ice, the depths of oceans, and the unbelievable feeling of being absolutely alone, here are some of the most spectacular survival stories we've ever heard. Number 10. Fell out of an exploding plane. In 1972, Vesna Volovak fell out of an exploding plane and managed to survive it. That same year, rescue workers pulled 8 survivors from the wreckage of a French airliner. A 20-year-old flight attendant went down in history as the only human to survive the longest fall from her plane. Vesna took off from Copenhagen to Belgrade on a work assignment, but it exploded as the aircraft flew over the Czech Republic. Rescuers found her smoking fuselage and her legs poking out of the wreckage. She lost a lot of blood and spent 3 days in a coma. She suffered a fractured skull, 3 broken vertebrae and other injuries, but didn't give up the fight for her dear life. Records say she fell more than 33,000 feet and was recognized as the only person to survive such a magnitude of height without a parachute. Rumor had it that a Croatian nationalist had blown up the plane, but recent studies show that the claim was false. Before moving to the next number, we just want a small favor from you. Like this video and subscribe to our channel. Press the bell icon and get 1 week good luck for you. Try this, it really works. Number 9. Amputated his hand to survive. Aaron Ralston appeared on stage during the Classic Film Festival held in Los Angeles in 2015. He was there specifically for an interview for their movie titled My Life as Portrayed in the Film. Remember the movie The Walking Dead, and how one man who was handcuffed on the rooftop had to cut off his hands to escape cannibalism. A similar incident happened in real life, even though a zombie wasn't involved. In 2013, Aaron was climbing in Utah's Blue John Canyon when an 800-pound boulder fell on him. It trapped him and crushed his right hand. Bringing a pulley with his climbing rope to tuck the rock away from him didn't work, and his multi-tool knife didn't do justice to it either. After being trapped for 2 days, he realized that amputating his right arm was his only option. He had to cut through nerves and break his bones to get himself out of trouble. Thanks to a special prosthetic hand, he'd resume climbing, and is enjoying every bit of it. Number 8. Months to drift the ocean. In November 1942, Ben Lemon, a British merchant ship, left Cape Town in South Africa, across the Atlantic Ocean to Paramaribo in Dutch Guiana. A German U-boat toppled it when the ship was 750 miles off the South American coast until it sank. Only a 24-year-old Chinese seaman called Poon Lim survived. He engaged to struggle to the surface to find one of the ship's rafts. Thankfully, he found a tank of water and some food flowing amid the wreckage. He improvised fishing tactics to catch more food, and it worked for him. Lim drifted for a whole 133 days until Brazilian fishers saw and rescued him. Reports say he was severely sunburned and lost about 30 pounds. He also suffered a stomach upset, which was the result of eating raw fish. Apart from these, he was in good health. This remains one of the longest survival at sea. The survivor emigrated to the US after World War II, where he worked with the United States Lions until its retirement in 1983. Number 7. Escaped a Soviet gulag and walked 4,000 miles. Slava Raw was a young police cavalry officer who was mandated to defend his country against Soviet invasion. The Soviet forces captured him and sent him to Moscow in 1939. He was convicted on charges of espionage and sentenced to 25 years in jail with hard labor. He survived a brutal trip to Siberia, where he rode in the back of an open cattle truck and in sub-zero temperatures. He then marched hundreds of miles in heavy chains amid the hopelessness of raw wicks, and 6 other prisoners escaped. Thanks to a sympathetic warden's wife. 7 of them trekked 4,000 miles to the south, crossing the Gobi Desert, and enduring the blazing heat, harsh cold, starvation and thirst. The three of them died before they reached India, but a Gurkha patrol rescued the survivors. When he was rescued, he weighed only 31 kilograms and never recovered from the ordeal until his death. Some skeptics say they don't believe some parts of Rawik's story, but there was no evidence to disprove his story. Number 6. Back to life from an icy underwater grave. Dr. Anna Bagenholm was a student in orthopedic surgery. She was skiing in Narvik when she fell into the icy water. The 29-year-old lost her balance and fell headfirst into a frozen river. Her head and body were stuck under thick ice, but she managed to find an air pocket that helped her breathe during the period. After 40 minutes of trying to break free, she was exhausted and was at the mercy of hypothermia. This is a condition where the body loses more quickly than it generates. It renders the heart and nervous system dysfunctional for that period, and it took almost 40 minutes for Anna's companions to break the ice and pull her out of the water. By the time she was out, her body temperature had dropped to 57 degrees Fahrenheit and her vital signs were numb. In fact, she was clinically dead. However, emergency doctors managed to revive her by using a particular machine to warm her blood. She returned to normal after many months of rehabilitation. Number 5. 42 days without food. Helen Claiborne wanted to travel from Fairbanks to Seattle, but decided to save money by flying with amateur pilot Ralph Flores. It turned out to be a deadly choice as the plane crashed on February 4, 1963, in a snowstorm in a remote village in Canada. All the passengers sustained severe injuries but managed to survive them. You probably think they had survival equipment, but there was none. They were armed with their food supply consisting of 4 cans of sardines, 2 cans of fruit cocktails, and a bottle of vitamin pills. To survive the cold at night, they made a makeshift blanket from the plane's carpet. They used gasoline to light a campfire. After 1 week, they ran out of food, forcing them to feed on melted snow for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That is, they drink water throughout their stay. Fortunately, the 2 passengers and the pilot were overweight and their body fat could sustain them for the next 42 days. Number 4. Forced to drink bat blood in the desert. It's widely believed that Marathon des Sables, a 155-mile race through the Sahara Desert, is the most demanding sports event on Earth. There are also chances that you'll get lost in one of the world's most inhospitable places, the Sahara Desert. In 1994, a 35-year-old Italian pentathlete named Mauro Prosperi discovered how dangerous the race was. An 8-hour sandstorm caused him to pass the night there, and he woke up the following day only to learn that he was lost. The young man was nearly stranded, but for the bottle of water he had with him. It wasn't going to sustain him for more than an hour. Therefore, he resorted to drinking his urine. 2 days later, he stumbled into a Muslim shrine where bats lived. Since there was no other option for food, he caught them, slit their throats, and drank their blood to quench his thirst. He still left the shrine and was walking around the desert when he found an oasis to drink water from. On the 8th day, he found some shepherds who called on rescuers on his behalf. Before we move on, I've got a little challenge for you that'll take me 5 seconds to complete. So here's the deal: you just leave a like on this video, smash that subscribes button and hit the notification bell, and you'll get 15 years of amazing luck. Try it, it really works. Number 3. Forced to eat human flesh. On October 13, 1972, an Air Force plane traveling from Montevideo to Santiago, Chile crashed into the Andes mountain. The Old Christian Club rugby team and their family members were en route to the match venue. Out of the 45 people on board, only 25 survived while 8 died only 2 weeks later. The survivors were trapped in the snow at an altitude of 13,000 feet and had to resort to eating the flesh of deceased family members preserved in the cold. 2 months after waiting aimlessly for rescuers, Fernando Paradu and Roberto Canessa decided to hike off into the wilderness in desperate need of help. 10 days later, they saw a livestock herder who helped them escalate the situation. The next day, a search team and helicopters reached the survivors, and they were evacuated from the site. Their story is featured in the movie Alive. For decades later, they flew into Santiago to play the game they missed during the crash. Number 2. Buried under World Trade Center. Rubble. On the morning of September 11, 2001, Guzman Macmillan was working at the office on the 64th floor of the World Trade Center's North Tower when the building was struck by a plane. She heard the noise, but the company had insisted that she stay put. She remained at that spot until she decided to check the stairwell. When she got to the 13th floor, she bent to take off her shoe, but suddenly a wall fell on her. Her feet were pinned while her head was trapped between two concrete. She couldn't move any body part, but her left hand, and when she opened her eyes she couldn't see anything as the environment was black. It felt like she was dead and her spirit was transitioning into another world. After 27 hours, she heard a voice asking her to stay calm. Soon she was spotted by the rescue team aided by search and rescue dogs. She was the last surviving person from the building. Number 1. Drank sulfuric acid. He was born in 1814 and was originally called Anthony Joseph. 3 years after his birth, he drank a bowl of sulfuric acid and a pin. For some inexplicable reason he managed to survive it. He also survived poisoning and suffocation from his bedroom, where he varnished items that were kept at night. He also fell into a hot frying pan that left him with severe bruises. His childhood was marred with countless ill luck, but he triumphed over them to become a great man. One would think he had seen a lot in life and wouldn't live long. Adolf lived up to 79 years, allowing him to invent the saxophone. There you have it. These brave humans weathered the storm of death and returned to life stronger. Please tell us about a near-death experience you had and how you came out of it. If you're new to this channel, please like and subscribe to be updated with our latest content till another scintillating episode. Adios.